like it's supposed to be Fort Knox. There are more police than I've ever seen anywhere because they don't want to have anybody come down. There's not a civilian within 3 blocks of the courthouse.
Okay, for fact's sake, we were there. You can see plenty of people milling about. That is directly across the street from the courthouse. People are sitting there eating their lunch. There are barricades up. The press is there, reporting the news. There are orderly lines with people waiting to go into the courthouse. And then there's a wide open park right there where protesters, anti-protesters, anyone in the world can show up and speak their piece. And there was a handful of people there.
Oh, that's gonna hurt!
No lie, too big or small, for the love of democracy, fact check them all. That's pretty good. As former President Donald Trump keeps comparing security outside of his trial to Fort Knox, complaining that his supporters were unable to protest outside, that's why there were so few of them. Which, if it were true that there was increased security, can you blame authorities for being a little cautious? We saw what happened last time you told them to do something, Donnie.
January 6th, that's a line of cops right there being broken through. And they're basically all storming. That's a lot of people, right? And then they're all storming, breaking through this line of cops. The cops are all down and out now.
But anyway, it couldn't be further from the truth. And MSNBC's Stephanie Ruhle simply couldn't sit by and listen to his lies anymore. So she cut away from his rambling to offer a dose of reality.
Outside looks like it's supposed to be Fort Knox. There are more police than I've ever seen anywhere because they don't want to have anybody come down. There's not a civilian within 3 blocks of the courthouse.
Okay, for fact's sake, we were there. You can see plenty of people milling about. That is directly across the street from the courthouse. People are sitting there eating their lunch. There are barricades up. The press is there, reporting the news. There are orderly lines with people waiting to go into the courthouse. And then there's a wide open park right there where protesters, anti-protesters, anyone in the world can show up and speak their piece. And there was a handful of people there.
Yeah, and in the morning when we were lining up, it actually became a bit of a fight between 2 single protesters who were trying to carve out their own territory. There was
2 individuals.
2 individuals, and then one was singing, and then the other one had a big sign about Todd Blanche and, whether they would call Trump to testify. And then these 2 people were having a fight amongst themselves over who should have more territory in the park to protest. But it's a big park, and the idea that, people cannot come out and protest for him is nonsense. And part of the reason Trump is saying that, kind of according to our reporting, people inside his orbit, is because Trump is personally offended that his supporters have not come to New York to protest him. And as a result, this is why he is projecting.
Okay, the crowds aren't the only thing he's misrepresenting. It's things that are more dangerous than that. Because Trump and his surrogates keep saying that Donald Trump wants to testify, but they won't let him. Donald Trump doesn't listen to his attorneys. These are people that he pays. And the court isn't preventing him from testifying.
And here is the thing. If you listened to what her guest said, you realize what all this is really about. The thing that continues to get bruised every step of this trial, from the descriptions of his mere milliseconds of magic to his endless courtroom siestas, his ego. It's hurt. He can't stand the fact that so few of his supporters seemingly care enough to come down and chant his name.
Because they don't want to have anybody come down. There's not a civilian within 3 blocks of the courthouse.
It's because he's for everybody. It's because he's everybody. He's for everybody. Biden is for everybody, not just white. No, listen to me. You wasted
Stormy Daniels took the stand on Tuesday. We're expecting a huge crowd of Trump supporters.
Huge crowd.
There's one.
Well, do you want to count the dog? Do you want to count the dog?
If you count the dog, there's 2. And then I see one other guy here. Is your dog a Trump supporter?
No.
No?
He's a dog.
Just a dog?
Yeah.
Okay. So 2. So officially 2. Just 2. 2 Trump supporters here.
But that's how you get in and you find out the real information. You have to talk to the people on the ground.
Okay, so we have 1 Trump supporter. The dog does not count, as we said before. And then it looks like we have 1 other Trump supporter, but maybe some of the people are hidden here or something like that. Excuse me, sir. Sir, are you a Trump supporter? No? You're not a Trump supporter? Okay.
All right. So
we still have 1.
Not another Trump supporter, but here, this could be a Trump supporter.
Are you a Trump supporter, sir?
Yeah, yes.
Okay. How many Trump supporters would you say are here today?
2.
Two?
Okay.
Well, a whole two.
Officially two?
The hot air that inflates his ego has run cold. So what does he do? He calls upon the Red Tie Brigade, the most shameless of senators, to come down and do what his supporters want. It is so pathetic, but so indicative of an egomaniac with an inferiority complex. It's why he's so hell-bent on crowd numbers, why he loses it when celebrities attack him, and why he can't admit defeat.
Trump or his team, someone shared this video on Truth Social last night.
What happens after Donald Trump wins? What's next for America?
Okay, if you zoom in, you can see they slipped in the words, a unified Reich. A fourth Reich, if you will. The good news is Trump wants to bring the country together. The bad news is that country is Germany in 1933. His campaign said it wasn't Trump who reposted the video. It was one of the junior Nazis who worked for him. But what else does this man have to do for people to see what he is? Just grows a mustache? What if he grew the mustache? What if he grew a little blonde Hitler mustache, started strutting around with his arm out straight? You think it would have any effect? How many of his supporters do you think would say, all right, that's too much for me? I guess maybe 10.
He's simply a spoiled child coming to the realization that no matter how much money he spent on his birthday party, nobody's coming, mate. And what do spoiled children do when they don't get their way? They throw tantrums, filled with falsities and misinformation.
What do you say to that female independent suburban voter who feels that way, to win her back?
First of all, I won in 2020 by a lot, okay? Let's get that straight. I won in 2020.
You know that this,
and if you look at all of the tapes, if you look at everything that you want to look at, you take a look at Truth to Vote, where they have people stuffing the ballot boxes on tapes, or
Mr. President,
let's go to recent. Well, wait a minute. Let's go to recent. FBI Twitter. Let's go to recent. The 51 agents, all corrupt stuff, Brett.
Understand about the Hunter Biden,
no, but
all
that's cheating
fair
on the
things.
election.
But
that's cheating on the election.
You lost the 2020 election.
Brett, you take a look at all of the stuffed ballots. You take a look at all of the things, including things like the 51 intelligence agents.
There were recounts in all of the swing states. There was not significant widespread
We're trying to get recounts, real recounts, not just
investigations,
numbers of votes
widespread
cast.
corruption. There was not a sense of that. There were lawsuits, more than 50 of them, by your lawyers, some in front of judges that you appointed.
Look at Wisconsin.
That came out with no evidence.
Wisconsin has practically admitted it was rigged. Other states are doing the same right now, and it's continuing on.
There have been reviews of every potential case of voter fraud in 6 battleground states, and they found fewer than 475 cases.
You know why? Because they didn't look at the right things.
Okay,
Brett.
are you going
they
to
were
be
counting? They were counting ballots, not the authenticity of the ballot. The ballots were fake ballots. You had this was a very rigged election.
Are you going to go? This is how you're going to tell that independent suburban woman voter to vote for you?
We're off to winning an election, and I think we're winning very well. I got a poll just recently. I have it here.
I know.
But here's the thing. Just because we can see it doesn't mean the rest of the country can. Which renders segments like this from Stephanie Ruhle or the recent pushback Trump's faced on the local news circuit so important. Because even if you think it is completely asinine to believe that this is what 100,000 people look like at a rally, it doesn't mean we overlook it.
So Johnny was there. You'll see that tonight. And he said it wasn't 100,000. Said it was closer to 30,000. That's still a packed venue.
Because his presidency started with, quote,
alternative facts.
And look where it got us. An
alternative
reality in which abortions are being criminalized. To which, make no mistake, and he has alluded to it in his interviews, contraception will follow. We are living in the nightmare. So it is long past due to wake up.
I think the most important thing that people should understand about this election is how far from normal it is. We have never had a former presidential candidate who was impeached and then indicted for trying to overturn an election. Never. In all of our history. We've never had a former president, a presidential candidate, who lies about the election that he lost. We've never had a former president or presidential candidate who refuses to pledge to accept the results of the next election if he lost. You know, the peaceful transfer of power is the most fundamental tenet of our democracy. Refusing to accept it, I think, is un-American. I believe it's unconstitutional.
Love this video? Make sure you stay up to date on the latest breaking news and all things Meidas by signing up to the MeidasTouch newsletter at MeidasTouch.com/newsletter.